We all know in this challenging environment that customer service is even more important than it ever was. That you need to have excellent customer service. Heck, excellent even isn't going to make it. It's got to be memorable. It's got to be so memorable that people are talking about you. But I have found that a lot of people don't understand what it takes to really plant a culture of service in an organization, because that's what it has to be. It has to be more than a smile and be nice course. It needs to be more than a motivational speech. Well, now, yes, those are important. They're a part of the mix. But I have found in my many years in the business and through writing 3 books on the subject that it has to be more. And so I'd like to share with you 3 elements that I think must go in to making a culture of service happen in your organization. I like to think of it as a kitchen stool. Very simple image, and there's 3 legs to that stool. Number 1 is management commitment. Number 2 is customer feedback. And number 3 is employee performance. And of course, there's a seat on the stool, and that's all your systems and procedures that make and drive customer service. Number 1, management commitment. We know that's all about you are the driving force behind it. Are you walking your talk? Have you heard this story about the Greyhound manager, the Greyhound bus manager? He was a regional manager, and he found that one of the things that was very important to their customers was clean restrooms, all right? So every once in a while, he would surprise one of his station managers, and he would call him up and invite him to lunch, to have lunch in the restroom. Did that say a lot about customer service and a commitment to it, and that I am going to drive this forward? Very, very important. So management commitment, walking the talk is important. You know, I always know when I go into an organization or I just have an experience with an organization, whether they're really serious about customer service or not. How many of you have ever tried to call your doctor's office around lunchtime to make an appointment? Right, that's the only time you can do it, you know, that's it. And what do? You get a recording. I'm sorry, we are gone for the lunch hour. We'll be back at 1:30. Please leave us a message. Now, what that says to me as a customer service consultant is you don't really care about me. You care more about your lunch hour and getting all the details and things, your work done, and you've forgotten about me. And it says to me, you don't have a true culture of service. So, and I'm sure you've had many, many experiences like that. So management commitment is important, but you know, I've seen a lot of failures, failure modes, I call them. Number 1 is fluffy approaches to customer service. I was dealing with a large organization, and we were busy making a strategic plan, what we were going to do when, how we were going to roll it out. And all of a sudden, the CEO has formed an employee committee, and they are organizing what I call a rah-rah rally in the employee cafeteria. And they had balloons, and they had posters and mugs, and you know, the customer is #1 and all of that. You know, just kicked it off, okay, showed a video, everything. And then nothing happened because we weren't ready to make anything else happen. So fluffy approaches are bad. Also promising more than you can deliver. I was working with a medical clinic one time, and the manager says to me, I want everybody to wear buttons that say, "We never say no." I said, yeah, you get it, okay? I said, Jeff, you know, that's nice, but are you going to have to say no sometimes? You know, this is a medical practice, and there's a lot of rules and regulations that don't allow you to say yes all the time. So we were heading for trouble right there. Luckily, I talked him out of that. Another one is I see a lot of the fix my people attitude, okay? All right, I still remember the time when I picked up the phone and there was a frantic voice on the other end saying, "We need some telephone skills training right away." And I said, "Well, okay, I'll be happy to do that, but why do you want it?" Well, it turns out the CEO had called his own company and received less than stellar customer service on the telephone. So, whoo, we got to send everybody to telephone skills training, right? Well, that wasn't the problem, really. It wasn't the people. It was the systems and the procedures. It was the telephone system. But watch that fix my people attitude. And of course, the third thing is not listening to your front line, the comments from your front line. I worked with an animal clinic one time, and once a week, they had a meeting called "What's Dumb? What Needs to Be Different?" And they would pass on all the stories and comments that customers had made about things they didn't like, what wasn't working. And that gives you a chance to look at your systems and procedures and question things. So those are 3 failure modes. So we have management commitment. Then we have customer feedback. You know, how do you know how you're doing? Tom Peters always says the voice of the customer must permeate the organization. So ask yourself a few questions. In customer feedback, of course, you want to find out, you know, what do our customers expect and what matters the most to them? Clean restrooms, quick access, 24/7 access to you, warm and friendly factor, what really matters? Because that's what you want to concentrate on in delivering, because you can't deliver everything all the time. So you have to know what to focus on, very important. Another thing is, of course, how well are we doing? And you need to ask some very specific questions there. One of my favorite questions to ask is, if you could change one thing about our service to you, what would it be? And that avoids what we call the fine response. You know, you've been there. You're at a restaurant. You've had an okay meal. It wasn't really great. You weren't coming back again, but it wasn't bad enough to really complain about. And of course, the wait staff walks up to you and says, "Well, how was everything?" And what do you say? "Fine." Yeah, fine. And they walk away thinking everything's fine, and it's not. So if you ask that one question, you're going to get some good information, and you're not going to get a whole bunch of stuff. You're going to really get a focus. So watch out for that. And then, what's wrong or missing. And the missing part is very interesting, because if you can find and listen for what I call customer I wish statements. I wish you were open longer hours. I wish you offered this particular product. That's going to give you an idea of some things you can add to your mix that will give you the competitive edge. And finally, of course, what we normally think of customer service is employee performance. That's the smile and be nice part, and that's important. But success with that starts with whom you hire. Disney said, customer service superiority starts with whom you hire, how you hire them, and how you bring them into the organization. So all of those elements have to go into employee performance. So look at your hiring. Are you asking the kinds of questions that will bring out true customer service attitudes? You've all heard that Southwest Airlines says, interview and hire for attitude, train for skills. I can teach people customer service skills, but I can't teach them a good attitude. Number 2, what about your orientation? Do you have the same old boring tour of the facilities? Here's the bathroom, here's the telephone, whoop, throw you up against the wall, see if it, sticks. All right? That doesn't work, does it? You've got to really orient them in the culture. And then finally, of course, you have to reward and recognize the behaviors, the good customer service behaviors. And there's just so many things you can do in that area. One of my favorite is the Snooze or Cruise Award. That when an employee does something that's really great and you want to reward it, you say, okay, you can either come in 30 minutes late this morning, or you can leave 30 minutes early, snooze or cruise kind of thing. So all of those things are part of planting a culture of service in an organization. So if you can't say that you're doing all of those, I challenge you to ask yourself, what can I do? What can I institute within those 3 areas? And if you're not doing it, why not? Thank you very much.